Episode 16 of Season 5. Sounds crazy to say, but that's where we are.
I don't even know what to say. Can we slow down a bit? Can we go to one episode a month, but still get paid this?
Yeah. You'll all stay, right?
No question about it. She was bluffing, Worf.
Bluffing is not one of Counselor Troy's strong suits.
Are they talking about poker?
How did you know what I had?
Let's just say I had a special insight into the cards.
What, you cheating?
Maybe next time you should bring a deck that's not transparent to infrared light. Not to worry, Worf. I only peek after the hand is over.
Good man.
Still nothing. I'll get a Dyna scan. We'll try again.
So he can help it? Like he can turn on and off, being able to see it? It seems kind of suspect.
It's right here.
Look out!
Right to the back.
LaForce to sick bay. Medical emergency in cargo bay 3.
Gets taken out by the villain of the week. Gets taken out by a fucking barrel. Come on, Worf.
The containers you were checking fell on you. You're lucky to be alive.
From a container?
You know who you're talking to here?
I will not attempt to leave sick bay without your approval. The restraining field is not necessary.
Oh, wait.
Worf, there is no restraining field.
But I can't move my legs.
You can't move because one of the containers shattered 7 of your vertebrae and crushed your spinal
Oh my
cord.
god!
I'm afraid there's no way we can repair this kind of injury.
What?
Damn.
Single tear.
Yeah, talk about a right to the point hook there. Just gets taken out by a container that looked like an empty plastic container. Damn. But he did take it right with the broad of his back. Come on, Worf.
Yeah, like the flat part of his back. You think he's gonna ride around in the Christopher Pike machine?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was thinking the Professor X chair.
Captain's log, stardate 45587.3.
HR episode?
When I contacted the Klingon Medical Division, they informed me that they usually let the patient die in a case like this.
Whoa.
You look pretty good for someone who's been eating sick bay food for 3 days.
Please, sit down, Commander. Thank you for agreeing to see me in this condition.
Oh, come on, Worf.
I am not merely injured, Commander. Dr. Crusher believes my paralysis to be permanent.
What, no one told him?
I have a personal favor to ask.
Have my son
I
kill
want
me.
you to assist me in performing the Heckbah ceremony. I want you to help me die.
You weren't far off.
Help me end my life as I have lived it, with dignity and honor.
Damn.
Damn. Picard would probably do it.
Doesn't even care about what Dorf has to say about it. Isn't he still on the ship?
Probably doesn't even want him to see him like that.
Alexander, today I will be dead.
Klingon anatomy. 23 ribs, 2 livers, 8-chambered heart,
Wow.
double-line neural pia mater.
2 livers. Think how much you could drink.
They have purple blood.
It's a good design in theory, but in practice, all the extra organs means just that much more can go wrong.
Fair.
This will be the first time. First time. I've done dozens of hollow simulations. The success rate is up to 37%.
If something goes wrong, he'll die. I agree, it has remarkable potential.
He might be the perfect patient then, since that's what he wants.
Yeah.
No, I'm afraid I can't justify the risk to Worf. We'll have to do with more conventional approaches.
But she hasn't talked to him yet and knows that, so maybe she'll change her mind.
Please report to the bridge.
On my way.
Didn't hang for too long. Good. They didn't want to see a...
Yeah, she's gonna do it anyway.
How many people were aboard?
The Denver standard crew complement is 23. They were transporting 517 colonists.
Wow. Kind of a bad timing for this to happen.
Yeah, very bad.
That doesn't mean that his life is over.
That's a very human perspective, Will. For a Klingon in Worf's position, his life is over.
Wow. Makes sense that Picard would understand it, but I'm surprised he's like that for it.
Respects the culture, bro.
Klingons choose their friends with great care. If he didn't know he could count on you, he would never have asked.
Why won't you let me see him? Then why can't I see him?
It's probably part of their culture as well. My son cannot see me while I'm weak.
My mother always said Klingons had a lot of dumb ideas about honor.
Based.
Well, it isn't very important to me. I don't care about being Klingon. I just want to see my father.
Those eyebrows are ridiculous, but I surprisingly like Alexander in the sense of his role in the show. I think Worf is like a good character to give a kid to.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe it's time you stopped lying here worrying about your honor and started thinking about someone else, like your son.
Damn.
No.
Never seen Troy so aggressive like that.
We can implant a series of neural transducers into your lower torso and legs. You can eventually regain 60 to 70% of your motor control.
It's kind of like a visor from Geordi, but for his legs.
It will take some time before you get used to manipulating them.
No!
There is one other option I'd like you to consider. It's called genetronic replication.
She's like, you bitch.
But if it works, it will restore virtually all your mobility, and without the need for artificial implants.
But if it fails, you will die. Sounds like a win-win.
It's a win-win for Worf.
I thought we had discussed genetronics.
Oh, shit.
I checked with Starfleet Medical. They have turned down your request to test genetronics on humanoids 3 times already.
Oh.
Father?
Come in, Alexander.
Wow.
I was worried about you.
There will be difficult times ahead. You must be strong.
I understand.
As Klingons, we all must be prepared for it.
Father!
He only put him on to talk to him. Pretty presumptuous of him, though, to think he could just stand like that immediately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's this room. Oh, yeah.
Use this to cauterize the tissue.
And you got the civilians and the crew members.
What happened here?
Do you have a my chart?
Here, fill out these forms.
I tried a new ribotherapy I've been working with. It's called Baratheum. I've had some very good results.
She's just testing everything on people.
The data that I gathered is invaluable. It will eventually help save thousands of lives.
Can I get some help over here?
If some years from now, Baratheum therapy were to save the life of someone you loved, would you still condemn me?
I will not be drawn into a hypothetical argument, Doctor. Your research on this ship is over. You are relieved of all medical duties until further notice. Is that clear?
Woo! Damn.
If someone refuses to engage in hypotheticals, they haven't fully thought out their philosophy. AKA, I'm not on Dr. Crusher's side. No, but the other doctor clearly is just, like, experimental. Like, she claims that was the best way for him to live, but she could just be convincing herself of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you've relieved Dr. Russell of duty.
That's right. I won't have her practicing medicine on this ship.
Maybe you should consider letting her go ahead with this genetronic procedure.
Damn, dude, Picard's arguing with everybody.
If he can't make a full recovery, Worf will kill himself.
Not in my sickbay, he won't.
Damn.
There is also a conventional therapy that could restore much of his mobility.
But not all of it.
There are some things I can't fix.
Beverly, he can't make the journey you're asking of him to accepting his condition and living with a disability, but it's too far.
If he goes into that operation, he could come out a corpse.
It may be his only choice.
Damn.
Riker get to play dress up?
Oh, wow. What if just to be dramatic, it goes through the whole thing, and then right as he's right here, no, and drops it. Then why'd you do the whole thing?
Do you know what I've decided? I think it's despicable.
Oh.
All you really expect me to do is bring you the knife and then walk away. So you can kill yourself in peace.
Not even a safer, non-painful way. Just a knife.
Yeah, just stab yourself.
Hit with the disruptor blast 2 years ago. She lived for about a week. Fang Lee, Marla Astor, Tasha Yar.
Oh!
Every single one fought for life until the very end.
I do not welcome death, Commander.
Are you sure? Because I get the sense you're feeling pretty noble about this whole thing. Look at me. Aren't I courageous? Aren't I an honorable Klingon?
Oh.
I've been studying Klingon ritual and Klingon law, and I've discovered that it's not my place to fill that role. According to tradition, that honor falls to a family member, preferably the oldest son. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Worf. I can't help you. There's only one person on this ship who can.
Give it up for fucking Jonathan Frakes.
I mean, that's his best scene, right?
That's his best scene, without a doubt. I got fucking emotional there.
Whew. And he's so right that, like, Worf's bringing up these excuses, but that's all it is, excuses. He knows that, you know, that's what needs to be done.
You said you wanted to see me?
Get the knife.
I need you to help me.
Anything, Father.
And I knew immediately when he was like, he's a child, I'm like, Klingons don't respect childhood.
According to tradition, I must take my life after suffering this kind of injury. But I have decided to break with tradition. I have decided to live.
Whoa!
I must still undergo a dangerous operation. I may still die, but it will not be by my own hand.
That's great. I'm glad that he announced he made that decision before going into the operation. Because then, if he hadn't have said that, the operation wouldn't really have any stakes, because it's like he's okay with dying.
Yeah.
Well, not that it wouldn't have any stakes, but it'd be far lessened.
We started doing multiplications today. The teacher said I'm faster than anybody else in my class.
I've changed my mind. Bring me the knife.
If I die, he must be cared for.
I'll make sure he reaches your parents' home safely.
Oh, they are elderly. I can't imagine anyone who would be a better parent to my son. If it is too much to ask,
I'd be honored.
Damn. Let's go. Godmother Troy. Why didn't you ask
I
me?
am ready.
I don't know you.
Or even worse, he asked can you ask Keiko to raise my child? In addition to her own infant child.
Yeah. Do you want me to go get her so you can ask? No.
Oh, God, remember these?
Oh, now we can make an edit and put her in the episode.
Yes!
Oh,
hell yeah.
I've notified Starfleet that our survey of Sector 37628 will be delayed by at least a week while we drop off the survivors from the Denver. Good.
I don't care about this B-plot, number one. It's barely a B-plot.
Has there been any word?
No.
That's good.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's so good.
Preliminary genotronic scans
Ah,
are
there's a
complete.
spine. I think it's a tie between spine and neck for, like, what scares me the most about our bodies. Like, just the fragility of it and the fact that it's, like, so important to your life, but it can just, you know, break, shatter. It's like, why is our body built like this?
And then you're done, if it does.
Did this show up in your simulations?
Yes, but I thought I made sufficient adjustments. Bring me the detronal scanner.
Calm, cool, collected.
You can scan the ganglia manually. It'll just take a little longer.
1 hour, 43 minutes until primary brain dysfunction.
Ah.
Get off your phone, kid. Talk to me.
Oh, yeah. iPad kid. Ugh.
Track the paraspinal muscle.
Isn't this crazy? You just, like, split open right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Make sure the cranial segment is at least 15 centimeters from the brainstem.
I'm not Dr. Pulaski. Relax.
Okay, ready. Terminate life support.
Life support disengaged.
Beep.
Looking good so far.
Oh, an odd beeping. Oh, no.
He's going into cardiac arrest.
All right, let's go to chloromidride. 15 cc's.
We're losing him.
Come on, stay focused.
I want Shigan injecting him.
Again.
Doctor. It was all going so well.
Oh, my God.
No.
Alexander, I am so sorry.
Oh, my God.
Activate biomonitors. I don't believe it. There must be a backup for his synaptic functions as well.
Vital signs are stabilizing.
Begin ribosomatic therapy.
Robot brought himself back to life.
My story's not finished.
Did they get you, dude? I was bought in.
I was brought in too. I thought they're gonna do a part 2.
You aren't even going to acknowledge what I did for him, are you? You just can't admit that it was my research that made this possible.
All right, calm down.
She has a point.
I am delighted that Worf is going to recover. You gambled, he won. Not all of your patients are so lucky. Enjoy your laurels, Doctor. I'm not sure I could. This is going to take time, Worf.
Alexander, remember what we talked about?
This isn't about you.
You can't pick him up anyway.
It's all right, counselor. I would appreciate some help for my son.
Oh.
We will work together.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Oh my god, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh.
You guys always like the sappy shit.
Oh.
Alright, you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Triple S.
I put S and Worf on top.
There's going to be a lot to talk about and praise with this one, but I don't want to forget, so I just want to mention it right up top. Director Chip Chalmers and writer Sarah B. Cooper as Sarah Charno here. The last time these two teamed up was The Wounded last season. Another great episode. Originally, I thought, wow, redemption here in this episode for Chip Chalmers, director of Captain's Holiday. But I forgot he actually directed The Wounded as well. So he more hits than misses. I'll give him credit there. And then Ronald Moore also on the writing here. This is just one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. Right up with the bonding, right up there with, Remember Me. I mean, this is one of my all-time favorites.
Speaking of The Wounded, they mentioned the Cardassians. And speaking of the bonding, they mentioned Marla Astor in this. Like, holy crap. Yeah, season 5 has kind of been in a lull period, and they realized they looked in their deck of cards, and they also referenced the poker game in the beginning of this. They looked in their deck of cards, and you know what? There's a certain ace that we have that just banger after banger, doesn't matter what the story is, doesn't matter what the context is, but we have this key player. We have this Tom Brady that we're benching right now, whose name is Michael Dorn Worf. God, you know how I like my Krispy Kreme donuts. I like them glazed, I'll tell you that. I have nothing but love and admiration for this episode. It was teetering on an A, but I just could not find an excuse to give it an A. The more scenes that went on, the more I'm like, no, I fucking love this. Yeah. I love everything about this.
I love this from start to finish. This is one of those rare episodes where every single scene was great. Every single scene was not wasted, was useful. Even the small little B plot that they had with the injured civilians is like very interesting, and like that is something the Enterprise would do, and just kind of the bad timing of it, but also it plays into the story of this guest character's experimental medicine, which we'll dive into. But first, I just gotta say, you're talking about the Worf side of it, which is awesome. But talk about how so many characters get utilized. I mean, so often we have a Worf episode or a Dr. Crusher episode, a Riker episode. This one was like one of Riker's best episodes. Debatably Dr. Crusher's best episode. I mean, I love Remember Me, but this is more so Dr. Crusher,
Yeah, that's her too, everyone.
But Troy has great moments. Picard has great moments. I mean, unfortunately, Data and Geordi are there, but don't do much. But, like, for all of them to be amazing, this wasn't just a blank character episode. It was so many of them, and they were all so great. The fact that I even loved Alexander in this, like, everybody, it just was amazing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. I have to give credit to my guy when I can. I mean,
he is the heart of the story.
He is the backbone, the spine of this episode, if you can believe it. No, everybody. Who also has taken a back seat has definitely been Beverly Crusher, and a great idea to bring another doctor on board who comes aboard the Enterprise. Respectful, cordial conversation, and through events that happen through this CD plot, just an excuse to have, not an excuse, a great tool, I would say, because it didn't take away from anything else. It was a tool to show that this person is going beyond someone else's ethics, per se, of doing all these experimental treatments for the sake of progression, which I think can be a real good argument, but it's like you're risking human life here. But but if I do this, it could mean the more saves later on. It's very similar to the previous episode of the conversation of morality, life, and what's right or wrong, and questioned where it's like, oh, that's wrong, but that's a good point too. Just fantastic.
I guess we could start there if you want with the medicine aspect of it. Caroline Cava played Dr. Toby Russell. And first of all, I loved when she first comes aboard and is immediately giving credit and praise to Dr. Crusher. She's not, we've complained so much, but they come on, interrupt the person, oh, I'm the shit, And she does have her I'm the shit moments later on in the episode, but it never comes off as like, oh, have to introduce this op character to go against our crew. Like, her and Dr. Crusher have very deep disagreements about the way that they conduct their profession, but it's always a professional disagreement. They don't like hate each other. They don't have any type of animosity. It's just they have a disagreement about the way that they help patients, and it's never even really shown which side is the right side. You would think conventionally, oh, Dr. Crusher's correct, but look at Dr. Russell. She saves Worf's life. Well, they both save his life, but she gets him back to being able to walk again. Dr. Crusher was not going to be able to do that. She says in the room where they're going over all of the survivors, she's like, oh, this man is now dead because he uses experimental medicine. He's like, well, this is the best chance he had. You can believe her or not believe her, but I think she believes herself in that moment. Yeah. So I just love the philosophical back and forth, and the line I loved when she's like, okay, well, yeah, you say that now, but what if in the future one of your loved ones gets saved by this medicine? And she's like, I'm not dealing in hypotheticals. And that right there, they're not deep in their own beliefs. If you can't accept a hypothetical situation, that's what philosophy and beliefs is all about, the what ifs. So it's like, as much as I love Dr. Crusher as a character, it's kind of like I'm even going back and forth with these two.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why, thinking about what you said there about if you can't answer with a hypothetical, that's a good point. That's something Bones would do probably too. I'm not gonna know hypothetical. Yeah, that's very. I love when they line up together, those two characters. I wish they met. That would have been wonderful.
And it's defensible though to give her a defense because we're not talking about just some random belief. You're talking about people's lives, and it's literally their job to save people's lives. It makes more sense in a doctor setting not to want to talk about hypotheticals. You want to talk about saving the person's life right then and there.
You want confirmed facts that this is going to work, and she's doing this experimental. Spinal replacement regeneration in holograms, and she says like, "Oh, there's a 37% chance of successful." Like in the hologram, 37%, and it's like, smiley, upbeat about it. It's like, I don't know if I'd take those odds. I mean, me personally, a Worf, yeah, probably, but me, I'm like, I don't know. But would I want to, be Worf was able to sit up. Wasn't
it was only his legs. So he was paraplegic, not quadriplegic. Okay, so he could move around. It was just his, waist down, I presume.
Not Christopher Reeve.
Okay. And we can kind of start to dip into the Worf side of it because that was my one main worry going through it. After learning that Worf wanted to end his life, my worry was like, oh, well, this surgery is the obvious answer because he doesn't even want to be alive. So it's a win-win for him. I mean, we even said that, which is why I was so glad that they had Worf make that decision before going into the surgery.
Yeah.
So now he does want to be alive, but is accepting he may still die. But, saying to Alexander right before he goes in, I'll see you again soon. Like, he's going into this wanting to be alive. That changes the whole narrative to where now there is stakes. And, it's just as a personal, I was in a situation recently where a loved one was going through something where the doctor, basically told us hey, we're about to do this thing. And when we do it, the results are either going to be it works or he dies. And then they just go away and walk into the room. And it's kind of like you're sitting there just waiting. And that's kind of like what Troy and Alexander had to go through there. And do we think Worf's going to die? Well, first of all, the episode did make me believe it. But going into it, do I think Worf's going to die? No, they're going to solve it. They're going to resolve it. But they still... I was so ready to give them the credit of oh, they're still getting me tense to where I might actually think he could die. Credit to the show. But then I actually believed that he died. I actually believed he died. I just started going through my mind okay, he's dead. What does this mean for the show? Why did Michael Dorn want to leave? I'm going, you know what I mean? I'm going through it in my head.
I was fairly confident who would be back. I don't know. I was thinking, are they going to do a Wrath the Khan Search for Spock? Is this a two-parter? Is he going to be back the next episode? Please. I assume Worf's in the rest of the show. I hope so. But no, I definitely bit on the falsie there. I totally bit. when Beverly walks out crying and all that, I'm like, oh, they're actually doing this. And it took a long time, and yeah, I bid on it. And speaking of Deanna and Alexander waiting outside the waiting room, also I love the scene with Picard and Riker in the ready room, just talking about business, but they don't want to be talking. They're doing that to distract themselves.
Oh, great scene.
Great scene. And the Chip Chalmers gets that nice close-up view on them. It's like, any word? No. It's like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and even before he says that, when they're like talking BS, and then it cuts to Picard's face, and he just looks up at Riker, and you can tell like the switch. Like,
Yep.
They were just talking about the work stuff, and I don't want to get too far away from WORF, but we'll circle back to it. But since we're talking about it, let's quickly talk about Picard and Riker, because smaller parts of the story.
Yeah.
But damn, that has to be Jonathan Frakes' best scene thus far.
Best scene by far. We've often talked about, okay, what does Riker do? If he's not flirting with someone, he's a go-getter in whatever culture he's trying to learn here. But what else was that? We saw that vulnerable side of him in Best of Both Worlds. And finally we get to see this angry side of losing this friend, this passionate side, and like yelling at Picard, yelling at Riker, yelling at Worf. And just seeing another layer to his character that we haven't seen. I mean, we've seen him be like tough guy, but tough guy for a different reason. An angry guy just being Riker, like, oh, I looked into Klingon culture, and like you're making excuses and you're going around things. It's like all these people who love you and care about you, think you want to see, and I was mesmerized by that scene. I got the goosebumps going during that scene. He needed that. We've often wondered, like, what's Riker going to do? You know what I mean? If he's not flirting with someone, what's he going to do? So I'm glad he got this, and I'm glad they're keeping that bond together. Mentioning Marla Astor and the bonding, Tasha, of course. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I was trying to think when he started mentioning the names, like Sandoval and stuff, I'm like, were these episodes? But I couldn't recall it. Maybe it happened, maybe not.
He said something like 2 years ago with the first one, so did something happen in season 3 with something named Sandoval?
They'll let us know.
Yeah.
But I didn't recognize them. But going into the show, I was most excited for Geordi, LeVar Burton, and Riker, Jonathan Frakes, because we love Beyond Belief, and I love Jonathan Frakes from that. But that's all I've ever saw him in besides this, and he's not an actor really in that show. He's the host, and he's like a Rod Serling type role. So as we were getting into this show, like, I won't lie, especially this season, like, I had started to worry a little bit of, like, as Riker was falling down the roster of who I cared about, it's kind of like, maybe Jonathan Frakes just, like, isn't that great of an actor. Like, I'm not a great actor, I'm just saying, like, maybe he's not the best. But then it's like a scene like this comes along, and I'm like, yes, he is. He's great. Just like everyone in the show is so great that it's like anytime I start to think like, oh, maybe that, maybe not everyone can be Brent Spiner or, Patrick Stewart, Michael Dorn, then it's like, nope, everyone's fucking great somehow. And like back to Gates McFadden real quick, we talk about when she comes out, tears in her eyes. She played that whole scenario out perfectly. Didn't overplay it. She's not, bawling her eyes out or being, she's not in the room like, damn it, do this. It's like she's very kind of composed and then just does the one, slap on the table and then like recomposes herself. Just amazing.
Yeah, just stellar stuff. Deanna Troi too. I really liked the scene with Worf and Deanna just talking about having her raise Alexander and what did he say? He's grown great admiration or respect for her.
Yeah.
And for someone like Worf, who's all very, like that, and Counselor Troi being the one he found great respect for, like, just keep growing, man. Keep that skyrocketing that growth. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that her godmother role doesn't just go away. I'm assuming moving forward, because these characters are, they could die at any moment, basically. So now that she has that responsibility, it's a very nice way to tie her to Worf and tie her more into the show overall. Again, just building Troi this season. This is like, if there was a most improved character award, it would be Troi.
Yeah, her too. It's better and better. It's great. And even through like the mid-tier episodes, this little stretch we've been through, she's been the shining star of all of them, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like no matter what they've been, she's the one who like pushes through and elevates every episode she's been in.
Yeah. And I guess that leads me to the one thing I'll say as far as this isn't even a flaw for me, but the one thing I would say is I guess the only thing with it is you have to be in love with these characters. You have to know these characters for this episode to hit as hard as it does. If this is the first episode you see, you're probably just like, oh, that's interesting. Like, it would still be interesting, but it'd be like, it's not going to hit as hard. Kind of like the same thing with the bonding. If the bonding was in season 1, it wouldn't have hit as hard. Here, we're all the way in season 5, and that's why it hits so hard. To a large extent, I still give credit to the writing, the acting direction, but you know, the fact we're already in love with all these characters and are fans of the show, it's like an episode for us, you know.
Yeah, because I've cherry-picked episodes I love and shown to my girlfriend, and it doesn't hit as hard, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's pretty good. I'm like...
And she's a Star Trek fan, too, right? It's not
Yeah,
like she's
she likes the original
you know,
series.
She's not a normie.
Yeah. I don't think she's watched TNG, though. I'm like, that was the bonding. Did you just see that? Why aren't you crying right now? What else in this episode? I just feel there's a lot.
Picard.
Oh, we got to talk about Picard. I called that right off the bat, and I like how characters can go through shifts and arcs and everything, but I also like when a character completely sticks to their guns, whether it's Picard not believing in ghosts or gods. He's also extremely respectful of people's cultures. And that scene with Riker, their first scene together, where Riker's passionately yelling at him, and Picard's just calmly explaining about beliefs, cultures, and all that, and it was beautiful. I love Picard, man.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I have nothing really to add except for I was a little bit shocked at how accepting he was of it. It makes sense for his character, but I think also for this episode specifically, he's the one that needs to like push all the other characters. Like, you know, Riker's stuck in his stance, Picard pushes him. Beverly's stuck in her stance, Picard pushes her. So he's kind of like the other side to everything here, which is great for his character. Fits perfectly. I think I was gonna say, did he even have a one-on-one interaction with Worf in the episode?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think so, because I would have really loved to see that, but I don't think there's really anything that could have been added, because he already like said it to everybody else.
What would have been said?
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe if he was actually talking to Worf, he'd maybe try to talk him out of it, but he also understands that he would.
Yeah,
it wouldn't go that. It wouldn't be that extensive of a conversation.
It almost feels like maybe it could have been a deleted scene of like if Picard was the first person Worf talked to, not that he's asking Picard to do the ritual, but just like explaining to him his mindset.
Worf explains it to him. Yeah,
we can headcanon that happened off screen, that they had that conversation,
and why Picard would be so accepting of it then. Because I'm sure at first I'm like, I don't know how well versed in Klingon culture Picard is. I mean, I'm sure he had to do something as the Chatleeth or whatever in Redemption. Chadich. Yeah,
I mean, he seems to get it. He seems to totally understand.
So maybe there was an aspect of it he didn't know, and then Worf explains it to him, and Worf's like, Picard's like, okay, that's your choice. I mean, I'm not going to go against you here.
To go off of the episode specifically for a moment, to talk about more the themes and everything of the episode. Obviously, it covers, you know, euthanasia and that type of thing, and I felt that they handled it pretty well. I think that, again, the great thing about sci-fi, by putting the Klingon layer over it, it's kind of like you don't have to deal with a lot of the actual ugliness of it or the messiness of it. So you put like, oh, well, it's because he's a Klingon. But I thought overall they did a pretty good job of presenting that idea. I've never personally had to deal with that. I hope I never do have to. But I think that it's one of those things that there's a reason why it's still debated, you know, today in terms of the legality of it and should people do it. The only thing for me is like the Klingon side of it makes it make sense. In a real world scenario, I don't think being paralyzed from the waist down is enough to accept someone wanting to kill themselves. Like if I were to actually have that argument with somebody or that debate with somebody over if it should be allowed, you'd have to be talking like a near vegetable state or like an unlivable state. I mean, Dr. Crusher even says paraplegics go on to lead full lives. That's where the Klingon part of it kind of comes in to help with it. What did you think, though?
Someone in this show goes on to live a great life and, you know, shaves that back of the hair back here and gets superpowers. Does great. It's definitely a touchy subject. I immediately thought of this as maybe because they use Klingons as a metaphor for maybe war veterans, you know, or athletes that are top of their game, great, and then they lose everything, and now they're, what do I have now? So I totally get what they're trying to go for here. Can we glaze it anymore? Do you have anything else?
I have zero complaints.
Yeah, same. I even thought about the scene where Worf decides to not kill himself. I'm thinking, can this be more? No, this is great. I don't want some dramatic, you know, drop the knife moment again. We've had that in Redemption 2 already. It's not the right time and place for it. The way they executed it was great.
And what if Alexander wasn't there? You know, it's like then Riker doesn't have that way to convince him.
Chip, yeah.
You know, what would we do? So it's just like it perfectly makes Alexander fit into this episode.
And the kid was great in this one.
Yeah, somehow.
He was passable. He
not an Oscar winner.
Not an Oscar winner, but he wasn't that bad. they gave it an A at 45%, 34% B, 10% C, 7% S. So we're in the minority there. 3% E.
3% E? Leave. Just kidding. We accept other opinions. Yeah, it's very interesting to get an episode with such a high A percentage, but not a lot of S. It's kind of rare that I've seen where usually it's like S, A, it'll descend down, but to have like such a high A and even high B, but only 7% S, I am interested. I'm just going to guess before going into looking at it that it's going to be the same kind of stuff we saw with the bonding in terms of like, oh, I never really cared for this one, or... But they did rate it an A, so I don't know. Maybe they've learned us by this point. They think like, well, you guys are going to love this.
This one's from Evan Guthrie. The Klingons' greatest weakness, plastic barrels.
Yeah, I guess I totally forgot about that. I guess if there was one complaint, make the threat a little bit more convincing. It literally looked like an empty, one of those blue plastic barrels.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't want to kill the actor or the stuntman, and it's TV.
It could have been a bunch of barrels instead of just one.
Yeah, like one tips over and they all just...
Because it was a huge rack of them, wasn't it? And just one fell over. They should have just all fallen onto them, the whole rack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I figured someone would ask this question. This is from Ross. Hard question time. If Worf came to you and asked for help in this situation as his friend, would you? Would your decision be based on morality, friendship, or respect for your friend's culture?
Don't ask me to do that. You go first. I'm not
I would never ask you to do that. I'm not a Klingon. But... I do feel like if I was in this situation, I would have, it sucks because thinking back on how the episode plays out, it probably wouldn't have been the right decision. I feel like I would have been like Picard. I feel like I just would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
And, that sucks. I don't want to do that. I guess the one thing is I probably would bring up Alexander, like how Riker does. But Riker doesn't bring up Alexander to the very, very end. That is not his initial objection. Mm-hmm. That would have been the first thing I went to. You have literally a child here now. You are a father. This isn't about you. This is about your kid. But then if I learned that he worked out the whole thing with Troy, it gets complex. But initially, let's say, take Alexander out of the situation, if he had asked me to do that, yeah, I feel like I would. I would not look at it from a morality basis. I would look at it purely from a friendship basis, and that would suck. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll never have a Klingon as a friend.
Yeah. Out of respect, I'd probably respect his wishes, but I'd do everything to try to convince him otherwise, especially since it's my guy. And I forgot to bring up the scene, the ending of Picard and Riker's first scene, where Picard talks about, Klingons are very, careful with who they choose as friends, and, he chose you, so it's kind of an honor, really. And I just like the way that Picard said that. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot how good their friendship is.
Take it as a compliment. He wants you to kill him. Yeah, basically.
He's basically saying, I'm glad he didn't choose me.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. I would, but I don't want to. This one's from Skullman8942. The barrel has no honor.
This one's from Nathan Walker. Lots of ethical questions floating around in this episode. A-list performances from our favorite characters, not just Crusher and Worf, but all around. We find out who Worf's greatest nemesis is in this episode, a plastic barrel. The beating up Worf trope at his weakest and most famous. Despite that, this episode is an A- for me. It's funny to see how much the barrel is really getting to people.
I'm just glad it was at the beginning and at the crux of the whole episode.
Oh, and can we bring up, forgot to talk about this, they set up earlier in the episode, Klingons have duplicates of all their organs in case something goes wrong. And then later on in the episode, what happens? He has a backup or whatever it was that killed him that brought him back to life.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, wait, what? At the end, I'm like, wait, he's back? Oh, okay. I forgot about that, yeah.
So great setup payoff moment. And when they brought it up, I in no way thought that'll come into play later. We complain about that all the time. I didn't think that at all. I don't know if you did.
No.
When they brought up the backup organs.
I was just thinking about, they're not going to mention purple blood, are they?
Yeah, you were too caught up in your Star Trek 6-8.
I was too caught in the hate I couldn't see. Yeah, no, they did that very well. I was also more interested, they have 2 livers. Oh, that's great. I didn't even think about how that could come into play later. Because I wasn't expecting him to die for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
No, good job, episode. S+ now. Rear Admiral Crack Biscuit says, someone order some filler, some nice moments, still filler. You're banned.
I would need someone to explain to me how this is filler if you care about these characters. If you don't give a shit about any of these characters, then, that's fine. But it's truly caring about these characters and seeing them go through this. I would say the same thing about the bonding, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I can't see that perspective. I would be more open to a perspective of this episode is bad or these things were not done well. This, I didn't buy into this. This wasn't done well. Okay. Yeah. But just this is filler. I just can't see that perspective unless you don't care about the characters.
I would love to know what they think is not filler. Do you think space battles and Data and Geordi talking about, the
Yeah, that's filler.
The defibrillators, is that not filler to them?
That's the filler.
From Eric Wilson, did they get you?
They got me.
They got me for a sec. I was expecting a two-parter. I wasn't expecting he's going to be gone, but I was expecting a two-parter. Like, oh wow, they're really going to go through with this.
This is from Jeffrey. I'm so split on this episode. Some good character scenes, but heavy-handed. And just like Spock in original Trek, Worf survives because of an unexpected species adaptation. I rated a B. Two-parter. 1, the whole idea of something being heavy-handed. Basically like too much or like, I don't see that at all here. With these great actors, I mean, in a lesser acted show, I can 100% see it. Or if the score was like swelling up and the emotion supposed to come from the score and not the acting. But all these actors were so great that unless you just disagree and don't think the actors are good, then that's what I think avoids the heavy-handedness of it for me.
Yeah, no, nothing comes to mind when I think of heavy-handed here. No.
And then secondly, the reason it's better than the Spock thing is because they never brought up the eyelid thing until afterwards.
Yeah.
They set it up specifically in this episode, and it came back in this episode. So I got to give it credit for that.
Got to give it credit for that, and that's a trope I talk about all the time. The most obvious case is if a character is allergic to peanut butter, it will clearly state right off the back, oh, you want this peanut butter sandwich? No, I'm allergic to peanut butter. Fast forward 74 minutes, and something pops up to where, peanut butter, it's like, well, great. You could have made that more obvious. But here, the way they were describing, they had a good reason to talk about Klingon anatomy, and they mentioned the duplicates of the liver and everything. So it made total sense and went over my head that it could come into play later, because that's how you do it. It was so subtle. And it's two doctors talking about anatomy. Like, of course it's going to happen.
Yeah, and we learn stuff about Klingons all the time that doesn't come back later on.
Yeah, so I had no reason to, execution. Great. I'm going to read this one in the funny voice from Aramis Calcutt. Who says Star Trek only became woke with new Trek?
We got a woke alert.
Here's a story about bodily anatomy, the right to die, and the dignity of people with disabilities, and no easy answers. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these episodes are issues that are going to be talked about probably till the end of time, and that's what I love about it.
It's very interesting because 45% A, and a lot of the comments have been on the more negative side, so I don't want to I'm about to read a positive take here. I don't want to necessarily call this a defector because it was voted an A, but just based on just the takes we're seeing here, this one stands out. This is from Lord Winters, an amazing episode where everyone's actions make sense for their character. It's something relevant still today, and is also something that helps inform Worf's character as a friend and father, and how his presence or absence would affect them. Yeah, I think that's spot on. That's only one of many reasons why I think it's great.
Yeah, and great ending scene too. Just do it together. It's like just wonderful. And the amount of times this episode was about to end, I'm like, is it over? Is it over? Enterprise is going by. Nope, it's not over. Another scene.
JHVJ. All I remembered from this episode was how funny it looked how the barrel hit Worf and how unconvinced I was that it would have done any real damage. However, past that, there was actually a really good episode. Deep emotional, a guest character to hate, some fire spitting from Riker, and especially Dr. Crusher, and a genuine ethical dilemma. The fake-out death, I'm not a huge fan of how it's done, but it's set up with Klingon redundancies, so it's fine, I guess. Overall, I'm surprised by how much I liked it on rewatch. A+. Yeah, I wonder, I think we're going to have another bonding scenario here of people not really caring about this episode, and maybe our reaction, hopefully, and our more so discussion might change some people's opinions. But at the end of the day, like what you like, don't like what you don't like. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I loved this one, and I'm not quite ready to be like, oh, favorite of the season or favorite of the show. But it's up there. I mean, it is up there.
It's up there for sure. And this season started with the highest of high bars, to where S was very special to me. I didn't want to give it out. It's like, you got to fucking earn this S. And the way season 5's been going, but with ethics, I think the glass ceiling has been broken.
Yeah, I think there's only 9 episodes left of the season, so yeah, this is in my top 10. It's guaranteed. My first lock. Top 10 lock.
I have a couple that are probably on lock, for sure.
All right.
One of them being Transfiguration.
Flashes brilliance lights the sky. Data's mind a beacon bright. TNG was relentless fight. Shields up high, we're breaking through. Phases toss, our aim is true. Blue light twist, the fire ignites. Boldly onward into the night. Warp factor, chaos engine scream. A voyage built on starlit dreams. Through fire and flame, the cosmos bends. The Enterprise flies, the journey ascends. Warp factor, chaos hearts collide. With every laugh, the stars align. Boldly they go, no end in sight. Season 5 takes flight. Anthems fall to scorching critique. Virtue speeches reach their peak. Holodeck worlds and turmoil turn. Lessons taught and bridges burned. Finest gift, a master's hand. The God's command, the voice that stands. Through the madness, what truth remains. TNG courses through our veins. Warping fast, the time is near. Stories clash as chaos steers. Engines roar, the stars ignite. Boundless journeys, endless fight. Warp factor, chaos engine scream. A voyage built on starlit dreams. Through fire and flame, the cosmos bends. The Enterprise flies, the journey ascends. Warp factor, chaos hearts collide. With every laugh, the stars align. Boldly they go, no end in sight. Season 5 takes flight. A voyage built on starlit dreams.